We all know the importance of onboarding, but the question is, do we really act on that? Caitlin, thank you for joining me today for this conversation on onboarding and the pitfalls of onboarding when we get it wrong.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We all know that the way we bring somebody on, what we do with them, what we do for them, the training we give them, we all know that those are really important. But from your perspective, Caitlin, what's the advice or what are the challenges that you see when organizations get onboarding wrong?
Yeah, I think when onboarding is maybe rushed in a lot of cases, right? That's like I feel like one of the most common, I guess, mistakes is that they want to rush it. They want people to be up and running and ready to go and hurry them along so they can get to working on whatever they're supposed to be working on. And I feel like we a lot of times leave the new hire kind of in the dust when we rush it, and then we wonder why they can't catch up later on and expect them to just be able to jump in.
But we need people to get up to production as fast as we can. I mean, I think that every organization and anybody watching this probably says the exact same thing. They're experienced. I need to get them in and I need to get them working. But you're saying maybe we need to slow down a little bit. What specific advice would you give somebody who's struggling with the onboarding and has had some challenges and turnover as a result of that?
Yeah, I think especially for us, and one thing that I looked at when we started onboarding people remotely was it's not going to be the same as what they're used to, right? Like they can't just walk over to somebody's cubicle or somebody's office and ask a question. So one of the things that I thought would be really important was to make sure that when I was available for at least the first couple of weeks of their actual solidified training period, pretty much all day long. And I made it very clear before somebody started, I'm onboarding somebody remotely. If you need me, message me or email me. I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Well, you're bringing up a good point though, because the way we onboard remotely is very different from where the way we were onboarding and the way companies were onboarding prior to COVID, right?
Yeah, very differently. Before it was, you could just hop over to somebody's office, and then when you were done with them, they tell you where the next person's office was, or what other department you were going to sit with. And now it's coordinating schedules was, I think, part of the worst part of onboarding our new hire. But once we got it set in stone, then people knew exactly what they were talking about for the amount of time that we had a new hire with them, and then that left more time for open conversation and dialogue.
Is onboarding, in your opinion, the same for everybody? Because especially when you think about the large organizations, they have very defined processes around onboarding. Day one, you do this. Day two, you do this. Day three, you do this. And it seems like there's some advantage to that, but is there also a disadvantage for onboarding everybody the exact same way?
Yeah, for sure. I think about my onboarding and how my leader sped up some portions of it because he's like, maybe we just don't need to spend as much time here. And then I think about the new person that we just onboarded, and I knew going in, based on the fact that we had his PI previously, that he was going to need more help in certain areas.
It's never been more important to build trust on your team by managing according to behavioral drives and needs.
And so I was conscious of that the entire time, even before he started.
Yeah, when you mentioned PI, for those that are watching, really understanding a little bit more of the behavioral profile of an individual. And I'm glad you brought that up, Caitlin, because one of the things that we understood about different folks is if somebody's very extroverted, the first thing that we should do with those individuals is introduce them to the rest of the team. But if somebody's introverted, as the name we call it, right? I don't believe that that's actually the right way to look at it, but gets less energy from all those folks. If the first thing we do is take them out and introduce them to everybody, they may actually not like that and have a really poor onboarding experience. Is that what you've experienced just with the folks that you've brought on?
Yeah, I think going back to the new hire that we had, one of the things that his PI kind of told us is that making sure he felt confident about what he was doing was going to be key to his success. And so things that maybe I hadn't put a ton of thought into, I thought, how can I break this down, make sure he feels confident in the way that I'm presenting it to him, or how much I'm practicing it with him before I expect him to do it. Because if he doesn't feel confident, he's not going to perform the best. So having that was super helpful, especially for somebody like me that tends to speed through things naturally.
Let's get to the next thing. Check it off the box, so to speak. So as you've seen both in your own hiring as well as the hiring of your clients, Caitlin, When onboarding doesn't happen the right way, what are some of the negative ramifications? You mentioned performance in general, but is there worst case scenarios? What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can get a really disengaged employee really quickly, right? If they're overwhelmed, they might just basically go back into their shell, or if they're not engaged because maybe it's going too slow, then they might be bored really quickly. So I think knowing what pace they need is more important than maybe what you have laid out for your onboarding per se.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I mean, in essence, there's a couple of things that we've talked about here. One is onboarding is absolutely essential. Having a thought out process, customizing it to the needs of the individual, because it's not the same for everybody. And what's a good experience for you may not be a good experience for me or one of your team members, and so forth. And number three, if we have some of that behavioral data ahead of the time, we might be able to stop guessing on what they need during the onboarding and actually have a program planned out around that individual based on how they're wired.
Absolutely.
So thank you for sharing your thoughts with me. And to all of you that are watching, we hope you found these tips helpful. Here at Qualigence, we're all about people living their purpose. So our goal is to help you and your company recruit the right people for the right role at the right time and for the right reason. And for weekly advice on how to best tackle your hiring and performance challenges, subscribe and click the notification bell. And for more information on the full suite of talent solutions that we offer here at Qualigence, click the link to our website below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the next one. Caitlin, thank you for joining.
Thanks, Steve.